I never thought I would find what I was looking for in my own father, but fate works in mysterious ways. This is my story. Hello, my name is Anonymous. I am here today to share my story. As much as possible, I want to remain anonymous due to the nature of the video. Growing up, all I ever wanted was to marry an expat and travel to Europe. My parents worked hard to save enough money to send me to college and also help me achieve my lifelong dream. On my 23rd birthday, they threw me a huge surprise party. They had invited a close friend from France who had recently come back to visit. Little did I know they had set him up to be my future husband. He was charming, handsome, intelligent. My parents were thrilled. They finally had a son-in-law to be proud of, and they immediately started planning our wedding. I was so excited to start my new life and see the world. 2 months later, I married the man of my dreams, and he whisked me away to Paris. Fantastic honeymoon, and I couldn't wait to get back home and show off my tan. However, within 3 weeks of returning from our honeymoon, my husband, whom I will call Jean, packed his bags again and left to return to his job in Australia. He promised he would be back in a few months to start our life together. But those months turned into years, and I never saw him again. To this day, I still can't understand why he didn't just stay and live with me. I suppose he really liked living abroad. He told me he missed his family and friends too much, but he would always come back to me eventually. And although it hurt to hear those words, I believed him. We maintained a long-distance marriage through regular video calls, but those calls meant nothing to me. I hated the way he looked at me, like I was some kind of trophy wife. I could never make him happy, and he never made me feel satisfied. Physically or emotionally, I felt lonely all the time. Every night I cried myself to sleep while talking to him on the phone. But no matter how much I begged him, he would never move back to France with me. 3 years later, my mother passed away from cancer. I barely recognized the man I saw standing by my side at the funeral. Jean had returned to be with me only because there had been a death in the family. What was the point of coming back if he wasn't going to stay? Just a few hours after the funeral, they left again, promising to return in 6 months. That was the last straw for me. I told him we needed to talk about our marriage, and he hung up on me. It wasn't until a year later that he called me again. It was to tell me that he had met someone else and wanted a divorce. But I wasn't sad to hear this. Finally, it was over. I was free to move on. But no one could have guessed what happened next. After I had signed the divorce papers, I went to visit my father. He was the only remaining family member I had left. And even though he was very quiet most of the time, he was a good man who always tried his best to make me happy. When I hugged him, he smelled faintly of alcohol, but I didn't care. All I knew was that I was glad to be in his company. Over the next few months, we got closer. Started spending more time together. Then one evening, while rummaging through my mother's things, I found a photo album filled with pictures of my childhood. Some of them showed me as a baby being held by a woman who looked like my mother. But the man in these pictures wasn't my dad. Who were these people? What was going on? That same night, I confronted my dad with the pictures. At first, he refused to answer any of my questions, but I wouldn't give up. Eventually, he sat me down and told me everything. Yes, I was adopted. The woman in the photos was my real mother. And the man who was my dad was just the man who had raised me. He told me that when my birth mother passed away during childbirth, he took me in without telling anyone. Basically, I had no idea who I really was or where I came from. With all the social barriers suddenly removed, my feelings for my dad changed. I went from being a little girl who missed her mother to being a woman who was attracted to her father. One day, he touched me inappropriately. I was shocked, confused, and scared, but I couldn't help but enjoy it. Was I crazy? At first, it was just a hug here, a kiss there. But soon it became something more. We started sleeping together regularly and it felt amazing. There was no shame or embarrassment between us. It was just pure love. For the first time in my life, I truly felt alive. I was no longer a lonely little girl. I had a man who loved me and treated me like a princess. Sadly, 2 years later, John died of a heart attack. When I heard the news, I was stunned. I hadn't spoken to him in years. A part of me still loved him. I flew to Australia to attend his funeral. It was there that I learned that he had left me his entire fortune. I couldn't believe it. He had never worked a day in his life. And yet, he was a millionaire. A week later, I was back home when my brother-in-law, Jean's younger brother, paid me a surprise visit. He was tall, handsome, and successful. His visit caught me by surprise since we had never met before. But when he asked me to marry him and take care of his brother's estate, I realized that Jean must have told his family about me. He proposed that I move in with his parents and let them take care of me. In exchange, I would marry his brother and take half of his inheritance. Honestly, the offer sounded too good to be true. Would they really welcome me into their home? And would they really accept me as part of their family? It was at that moment that I knew I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with a man I didn't know. And even if I did, how could I look my so-called father in the eyes and pretend that nothing had happened between us? When my fiancé proposed to me for the second time, I finally lost control. I told him everything. Of course, he didn't believe me at first. But when he saw the pictures in my mom's photo album, he understood. He left me and never looked back. My dad was devastated when he heard what had happened. But instead of giving into despair, he did something extraordinary. He confessed his undying love for me and proposed that we start our lives together. He said that he didn't care what other people thought of him and that he was willing to do whatever it took to make me happy. For the first time in my life, I felt truly loved and cherished, and I knew that I couldn't let go of my dad, even though everyone around us was against our relationship. We didn't care. We decided to elope and start our new life together. 2 years later, we're happier than ever. We have 2 beautiful kids, a boy and a girl, and we're expecting our 3rd child. I know that our story is far from perfect, but I wouldn't change a thing. Not only is my life complete, it's also full of love and happiness.